This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it's now 6:32, and I'm going to call this town council meeting to order. The first thing will be the invocation, and the invocation this evening will be done by Mr. Pellegrino.
Lord, thank you for giving us this opportunity to get together. Thank you for the participation of our residents and guests. Please give us the wisdom and knowledge to listen to all the information available, assess all the information, and make good decisions for Surfside Beach. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there is no public hearing tonight, and I will now accept any motions that anybody has related to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we move business item 8G into executive session where we have already disclosed that we will be discussing negotiations of proposed contract arrangements. And since this change order is a contract arrangement, we should discuss it in executive session prior to the vote in public session.
Second. Okay, any discussion before we do this, before we vote on it? Okay, Mr. Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Pellegrino?
Yes.
Greg? Yes. And I'm yes too. So we are going to take business item number G and move that into executive session. And if there is a vote or the determination on that will be made after executive session and open session. Okay. The next thing is the minutes approval, and these are the minutes for July 27, 2021. Do I have a motion to accept it?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve July 27, 21 regular meeting.
Second.
Okay. Is there any conversation or any discussion before we vote on that? Mr. Holder? Yes. Keating?
Yes.
Pellegrino?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes also. So the next thing is public comments, and these are public comments relating to the agenda. Each speaker has 5 minutes, and we will open that up at this time. Are there any public comments? Okay, we'll move right along. There's nothing in the communications. And the next thing is we're going to start the business section. And the first thing on the business section is the first reading of ordinance 210936, chapter 9. Chief Hoff.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance number 21-0936 for first reading.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
Second. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, and citizens. So here we are. A lot of work. We're looking forward to Councilwoman Keating getting some baked goods flowing back into the police department now that we get chapter 9 behind us. Slowed down a little bit. Yeah. I do have what will hopefully be a first reading of chapter 9 for council to consider. We've been back and forth about this. I believe that all the changes have been made that we discussed in the workshop. And I have had an opportunity to review it, particularly with the concerns expressed by our local businesses, the Falcos and Coastal Collision. This particular this draft here that's coming to you for your first reading does have the stipulation in it that the business location of any towing company shall be within the town. Their primary business and the storage or impound lot shall also be within town limits. I'm trying to scroll the page here. Made a note right before I came up.
Page 15 to 19.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, sir. So it's under section 9-51. You'll be able to see that under subsection G for required to comply. It says that they must have such business and impound and storage lot within the corporate limits of the town. Also going down to subsection 2 for business location, storage lot, primary business location, list location of primary business operation within the corporate limits of the town, storage lot, use location of storage lot within the corporate limits of the town. So hopefully we've addressed those concerns to protect our business stakeholders here in town. And that was one of the primary things. We did make the other changes that were in there. I don't know if you want to go through them line by line, or if council has had an opportunity to review it and just wants me to answer any questions you might have. I'm happy to.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Chief, I just want to highlight one comment that we made, or one change we made to the parking ordinance, and I'm trying to find it. Anyway, wherever it is. We basically have said that there is, other than the permit parking that is along the west side of Ocean Boulevard, there is no other parking on Ocean Boulevard. And I think with the initiative of Public Works to connect the sidewalks from Surfside Drive to First Avenue South along that west side of Ocean Boulevard will correct a lot of the parking and traffic concerns in that highly congested area. But one of the other things that we had that there throughout the town, not just Ocean Boulevard, but throughout the town, that we prohibited parking facing traffic, or facing the wrong way of traffic, opposed to the natural flow of traffic.
Correct.
And basically what we've changed that to is prohibiting parking in any manner not following the flow of traffic. So that also precludes, we've seen in front of Neil and Pam's where the golf carts kind of pull in at an angle. Or we've got a few areas in town where they park perpendicular to the town. So all of those things in the public right of ways will now become unlawful.
That's correct.
So would that be unlawful on 7th Avenue, 7th Avenue North, and Ocean Boulevard on 7th Avenue to park perpendicular to the road?
Under the changes that we made, yes. If you park on the right of ways of the town, you'll need to park parallel to and within the right of way, and also facing with the flow of traffic there. So that should address those concerns. Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I'm fine with all that. I do have a concern though. Obviously, parking in the opposite direction from traffic is against state law. That's always been law. We're actually changing now to this perpendicular parking, so that's not allowed. How are we going to communicate that this to Mr. Shanahan too? Because people are not going to have any idea that's a new law.
Well, there's a couple of things we'll need to do. Number one, we need to use our social media areas. Number two, I think which would be important is make sure that maybe at the beginning, the folks that are in charge of giving out tickets, put out some warning tickets for a couple of weeks and identify that this is not allowed, and that in the future, if it's your car again, which we would know, that it will get a citation, and give them a couple of weeks to get ready for it. Because you gotta be fair, you're right.
All right, yeah, and that's my thing. And I was going to ask you to work with the mayor to make sure we do a warning system for, I think more than a few weeks, I don't know, a couple months, but it's, people are going to be real surprised when they get a ticket for when they're doing something they've done forever.
Yes, sir.
So that's a challenge there.
Are you all gonna put any signs up at all in these areas? Any kind of, no parking, we should do that.
I think that'd be better, because you said a couple of weeks and on Facebook and stuff like that, but we have visitors come every week. So 6 months from now, we're gonna have a new visit. And then the week after that, another visit. And if everybody from out of town or maybe live in Columbia come down. We need to put some signs, if there's gonna be no parking in certain areas,
Yes, sir.
we need to put up signs.
Yes, sir. I agree, particularly in those areas like Seventh North that the mayor mentioned, where people have grown accustomed to parking there. We could get some signage up at the edge of the right of way there with some information. Absolutely, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll sit down, we'll figure it out, we'll make it happen, and once we figure out everything we're gonna do, we'll send an email. I can make sure you look for.
There's Neil and Pam's right in front of there, I mean, there's a group of people every week.
Have we decided what we're gonna do in Tony New and Pam's and the other two restaurants and others as far as the sidewalk or?
I have our public works director, he's getting costs to do that. We're gonna make sure that we have the fund available in our capital project fund, and
If
And if we do, we'll bring it.
then we need to do it in the winter time.
yes, sir, and we'll bring that to you. I mean, we'll bring it. I think the biggest issue with that I've seen is it kind of leads people to walk across the street in the middle of the street and keeping them away from the corners where the crosswalks are. And I can't blame them because they're coming out and getting in the middle of the street because of the mostly golf carts that are around the inside. So this would be easier just shoot across.
Okay, any more discussion before we take a vote on it? Anybody have any questions of Chief?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I just want to highlight one other significant change that we've made. And this was discussed in the workshop. And that is, we're not making a distinction anymore between parking lots, whether it's 13th South, Pinewood and Oak, Yopon, what will eventually be the Pier parking lot, or 6th Avenue North. All parking lots will be $2 an hour.
Okay. Anybody else? Last chance. Mine, Mr. Holder, thank you, Chief. I vote yes. Stephen,
Yes.
Pellegrino? Yes. Greg?
Yes.
And myself is yes, so that passed. Next thing is the first reading of ordinance 210937, adoption of flood, second reading of ordinance 210935, holes on the beach. Back.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept second reading of ordinance 21. Where'd it go? 21-030935.
Second.
35.
Now the second is by Mr. Holder. Discussion on this before we vote?
Mr. Mayor, the only change that was made between first reading and second reading, we started to ask some questions about sizes of shovels. So I made two changes from the last reading. I took out the word metal where it said metal shovels, so just any material that a shovel is. And also 6 inches by 6 inches is kind of identified as the size where you kind of switch from, you want to stop kids from digging holes on the beach and having fun, but this is where we kind of get into a size shovel where people are really trying to move large enough amounts of sand that they could, put a person or a vehicle or a turtle in danger. So we do think that that particular change will be reasonable. And also just as a reminder, we're not going to be out like patrolling, looking for people digging holes. It's just a means by which if we see someone doing this, that we'll have the ability to intervene and remind them that they've got to fill this hole before they leave the beach, or they could be subject to criminal action. But that's the only change from first reading to second.
Any questions or further discussion?
Ms. Mayor? Again, as I said last time, I just find this to be government overreach. We're solving a problem that, in my opinion, doesn't exist. I had 3 people before the last vote contact me about, obviously for the ordinance, and then since then I had 2 more. So I had 5 people contact me. There's probably more who want the ordinance. I agree with that, but we represent what residents and business owners never involved. Close to 5,000. So to me, again, it's a It's a problem that we haven't had incidents with over the years. And I just don't know why, once Myrtle Beach does something, we feel like we have to follow suit all the time. I can't comprehend this one. It's going to be, number 21 on the list at the beach on that big sign. And we're only going to enforce it when someone complains, just like the rest of them. Because it's not, we only have so many cops. We can't enforce 500 rules every day. Just, I personally rather have the cops, preventing CVS from getting robbed and worrying about holes on the beach. But that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Holden?
Yeah.
Keating?
Yes.
Pellegrino?
No.
Drake?
No.
And I'm yes, so that did pass 4-1. Next thing is the first reading of ordinance 210937, adoption of the flood damage prevention. Mitch Combs. Can I have a motion for that?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept first reading of ordinance 21-0937 to adopt the new floodplain maps.
I second.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, we're here tonight to look at first reading for amendments to the floodplain ordinance. The reason these are proposed in front of you tonight is because these are the recommended revisions by the state NFIP department, that's National Flood Insurance Program, in order for our ordinance to be in compliance with the state model. Nothing that you see in here was developed at staff level. It came from the recommendations at state level. And nothing in here compromises or reduces our effect of our CRS program. These are simply to come into compliance with the state model. That allows us to go to first reading. Then we will have an opportunity for second reading. The only thing that may change between now and second is the state has brought up one potential issue that involves riverine flooding, which we do not have in our jurisdiction. So it's a matter of whether we should put that in our ordinance or if we should leave it out completely. That's the only thing that I'm aware of that may change between now and second reading, unless, of course, the council would like to entertain anything. This would put us on track for our maps to be adopted and effective December 16th, 2021.
When are we going to be able to have maps displayed for people to see the changes in the map?
It's my understanding that after our second reading, that the maps will become effective for floodplain management purposes, not effective for insurance purposes until that date of December 16th. But we will have the amended maps available to us.
And how much, for the people here, how much of a change with this, is it a big difference in the maps that you see?
There are some significant changes in certain areas, yes, sir.
What are you being highlighted on?
Down the A zone changes down on the northern side of Ocean Drive. There'll be some properties that come out of the floodplain right there. But then there are some that come in back up there where you have some, I think they refer to it as backwater inundation when we have a wave.
Is there any place that we have to post it so that the residents can see it, so that they can have input into it if they want to before the second reading on?
The maps themselves?
Yeah, the proposed map.
Not that I'm aware of, sir, because they've already gone through the public viewing process. And I'm sure that nothing will exclude us from doing that. We can probably do that on our own. And I'd be happy to try to
facilitate that in some way. The maps are in the state, or actually FEMA's repository now. So you could actually get to them and look at them if you were savvy enough to get through that process.
Right, it'd be a lot easier, to serve our residents.
Sure.
If we let them take a look at it.
Absolutely.
And if somebody has any
Another good
grievance-
thing for, the website, I know that y'all are all talking about. So it's another positive for that, to be able to view those type of things more easily.
Mr. Combs, is this the map that was updated years ago and has been in courts with Horry County for all this time?
Yes, sir, it is.
So that map, I remember that map, it was very favorable for the majority of people in flood zones. There were pockets that it changed, but for the majority, it's very favorable. For I think a lot of residents are gonna be real happy with that map. And hallelujah, that was like 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean,
It involved a lawsuit and back and forth, but Horry County has now completed their second reading adoption of their maps. So they're on the same track for us for December 16th. As official for insurance purposes and everything.
Mr. Mayor,
Right.
there's two parameters in here that I would just like an explanation of why the difference and what does it mean?
Okay. What page are you on?
One, I don't know. Tell you the truth. You moved it, you canceled it you deleted it on one page and moved it to another.
Okay.
Anyway, one says that the minimum height has to be 18 inches above grade.
Mhm.
Another place it says it has to be 3 feet above base flood level.
Mhm.
Now, I assume that's a difference between flood zones, but where's that trigger point?
Yes, ma'am. We had 18 inches above grade as a benchmark for where we had locations we did not have elevations. On the new maps, the town will not have any locations where a elevation is not already determined.
Okay, because I know we have a house that we just recently built over on 3rd or 4th South, and it is at grade. I mean, my house is on a slab and it's higher than that house. So I just wonder, did somebody miss something there? Am I misinterpreting what a requirement might have been? Because that's not something that was really changed in this version.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering
If this version actually removes the 18-inch
yeah, but you put it
requirement.
back in another paragraph. That's fine.
Okay. I'd be happy to look into that for sure, especially the house on Fourth. I'd be glad to research that for
I
you.
found a couple other typos and stuff in here. We'll just take that offline. I'll give those to you.
Yeah, be glad to. Thank you. We can get that definitely changed before second reading and everything will still be on track.
But now our elevation is 3 feet above base flood zone
Correct.
everywhere throughout town or
Mhm.
just in
There's
the
no-
high flood zones?
Well, it's in the flood zone only. If you're referring
So it's
to
basically dogwood.
if you're referring to the base flood elevation and the 3 foot, that's our higher regulatory standard, then that is only in the special flood hazard area. Yes, ma'am.
So for the rest of us outside of that, west of that, we're back to the 18 inches? Maybe that's where.
That's where you're
it
at,
is.
exactly.
So we're back to the 18 inches,
Mhm.
except whatever happened over on 3rd or 4th South.
Yeah, we'll see what happened there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Graham?
yes,
Greg?
Yes.
And myself is yes, so that did pass the first reading. The next thing is going to be a decision paper on a proposed contractual agreement with Axon Enterprise. And I see Chief Hoffman is,
It's basically, it's a 5-year contract. And that's, it's already in the budget. It has been funded in the budget for $13,600 a year. And it's for 20 pages, and what it does is every year it gives us the stuff to train with them and all the recaps. Here he is.
Sorry about that. I was actually on the phone with Axon just now. Thank you, sir. Mayor and council and citizens, what we're pursuing here in this particular situation is it's time for us to update our tasers, which is one of our very important, less lethal weapons that officers need to carry to protect themselves and the citizens. We've had our current tasers that we carry is the X26 taser. We issued those initially in 2005, so we've had them for quite a while. They are now out of service and out of support by Taser, which means that we've actually for the last couple of years been having to buy them used from other vendors, which is a little bit risky. And there's no coverage or warranty on any of those. So we've been using these out of support tasers, which prevents us from utilizing essentially a $10 million liability plan that Axon has for the departments to use tasers, as long as they're in compliance and using them as properly trained. Axon will step in and help police departments defend in the event of frivolous use of force lawsuits and things like that, as long as the department is properly trained, using equipment and following all protocols. We need to transition to the current model, which is the Taser 7. So that would be a complete change of equipment, including holsters, our training materials, and training equipment. The 5-year cost of the equipment to include everything would be $66,000. Axon does offer a 5-year agreement that would be at the cost of $13,200 per year. We originally budgeted and is in this year's budget $13,800 for this, but Axon has agreed to take in our existing X26 tasers, and we will get a credit. So it's brought it down to $13,200 a year. So we've got a pretty significant credit to go with this Taser 7 model. So we are asking for council to essentially approve the town administrator to sign this 5-year contractual agreement with Axon so we can replace these tasers. Answer any questions?
Over the course of since 2005, how much do we pay a month for those tasers?
We don't pay anything for them at this point. They're all paid off. But if I buy one now, they're roughly about, I think, $800 a piece to buy an X26 used off of whatever market vendor that we can find. The problem is that the batteries are running out of supply. They're not made anymore. And we are having some usability issues where they're just not functioning like they're supposed to as frequently in a reliable way. That answer your question?
Yeah, okay. You know, we talked before the meeting a little bit on a telephone conversation
Yes,
about
sir.
the possibility. There's all sorts of grants for law enforcement.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if we've exercised any of those or all of those to try to see if that $66,000 could be supplemented by something. Because what they have right now and all the stuff that goes to Black Lives Matter and all the defund police and everything, there's a lot of money available in grants to try to improve services with the police department. I just want to make sure that we take advantage of anything that we can.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. So through the town's insurance, through Mass C and Smith-Smurf, there are grant reimbursements for, and tasers are one of the items that they reimburse for. But you have to pay for them first and then apply for reimbursement. Right. So I assure you, we will be putting this towards our Smith-Smurf grant funding and reimbursement. Also, and of course, this would be a council decision to make, but through the Presidential American Rescue Plan, this could be covered through those funds that are coming to the town as part of that. Police infrastructure is, this would be covered in the police infrastructure.
So we're still working on the municipality thing with the American Rescue Grant, right?
So this would be a cost that you could apply towards that American Rescue Plan funding. And I was just on the phone with our Axon rep trying to answer that question. So if I can find some other grants funding resources, I assure you, I'll chase them. We chase many grants throughout the year. Body cameras are grant funded. We usually get $10,000 or $12,000 a year back for our body camera through the state body camera grant funding. So I will chase that and keep you up to date.
So just to be clear, the reason that we're here, and this is on the agenda tonight, is for the fact that it's going to have to be a signed contract.
That's correct.
And the signed contract is in excess of $20,000. So in any contract over $20,000, the council needs to approve the administrator's ability to sign a contract at that amount.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
as I told you when we were standing in Sherry's office, you give me all this, I will have questions. So,
Absolutely.
You knew that, you knew that.
I was forewarned.
Okay, so we're getting basically 20 new tasers and 24 battery packs and about 720 cartridges
Right.
of different varieties.
Correct.
And we have a 5-year contract. Are we getting all 20 up front and this is a financing deal? Or are we taking the delivery of the 20 tasers and the accoutrements
We will
over
be,
that 5 years?
that's a great question. We'll be getting the 20 tasers, 20 holsters, right or left-handed, based on what the officer needs. And the patrol cartridges will come in right away, and then enough training cartridges for each officer to transition train. This is a totally different device, totally different cartridges, everything. So the officers will need to train and transition and do some practice with this. So this will include everything we need to transition and get the officers trained for the first year. And then each year, they will send us the next batch of training cartridges because Axon requires that you do, I think, a minimum of 2 deployments, training cartridge deployments per year to be in line for the training. So we will get all the devices up front, and then each year we'll get a resupply of the cartridges. Also, because of this plan, if we deploy a cartridge, it includes a replacement of that cartridge if we use it in a use of force incident. So we won't have to, there won't be any additional expenditures for the tasers for the next 5 years. Everything's covered.
Okay, so it seems to say that the training is free. They're waiving their training fees, but the training materials is like a couple $100, correct?
Yeah, I think those are targets and other handwritten materials and such, and also includes our training license. The lieutenant for the department is presently a taser instructor, but I think this includes one extra training license that will be.
That's the admin license?
Yes.
Okay. My last question is, according to the terms and conditions, they basically give us a 1-year warranty on the tasers. But we are going to pay another $5,800 for an extended warranty. What additional, does it cover anything in addition or just time? And if so, what is that time?
I'll have to get you an answer to that. I'm not 100% sure of that. In fact, I don't know on that one. My understanding is that during the period of this contract, if we have any problems with tasers, cartridges, holsters, or anything, we get a replacement shipped to us.
Okay, because I didn't see that anywhere in the documentation that said that they were even offering an extended warranty and for what term that was. So,
Okay.
I mean,
If I can get you an answer to that and get it to the administrator prior to us engaging further with the contract and get that out to the entire council, I'll be happy to check on that.
okay, perfect. And that's all I have.
That was easy.
Are there any more questions? So it's agreed that when we vote on this, that you are going to check on the grant possibilities before the contract is signed. We can do that. It's agreed. All right.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion then to accept the contractual arrangement with Axon Enterprises, Inc. for the procurement of upgraded taser supplies in the amount of $66,000 for the 5-year term of the contract, predicated on understanding what the extended term warranty is, and that we will be investigating grant reimbursements.
So, okay. Is there any more discussion? Are we ready to vote on? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Holder.
Yes.
Keating.
Yes.
Pellegrino.
Yes.
Drake.
Yes.
And myself is yes, so that passed 5-0. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a motion for $1.85 million cap for new building.
Yes, sir, as we spoke at the last meeting, or the last workshop, this includes the land, the building, move-in, council chambers / courthouse, any maintenance, and our auditors stated that they felt that if we had this, it makes it much more visible to our citizens and easy for them to look at during our audits, so just requesting that you put this cap on it.
Can you give us a breakdown for the residents on exactly that $1.8 million, what it's gonna cover? We know it's gonna cover the real estate, but I need to know how much that real estate is of the 1.8 and the buildings. Do you have a breakdown of the expected expenses on that?
The property in back of the building is $85,000. The building itself is $1.2 million. The property to the side, the 25 feet going down to 125 feet, if we get it, that will be approximately $100,000. And I'm trying to look at the other, that's from memory. There we go. And then, of course, that'll also be bringing in IT lines, telephone lines, electric lines, safety lines, television camera lines. I don't have the exact numbers for that on the go.
Do you have an estimate on what it would take to build a civic center, conference room, or whatever it is?
That was based on the information I received around the $500,000 mark.
So the 1.8 that you're,
1.85.
yeah, 1.85, that's a guesstimate.
As close as
We're
we can.
asking that it not exceed 1.8.
Yes, sir, and we're gonna do everything in our power to make sure it doesn't, but as we do things, it doesn't matter what it is, we will be bringing it back to the council to make sure you're aware of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Go ahead.
Mr. Shanahan, so if we are gonna go over the 1.85, you would present a change order to us, correct?
Well, I would bring, it wouldn't be a changeover, but I would bring it to your attention, yes, sir. And anything underneath that's outside of the norm that we would make sure you know, that the goal here is to make sure that the council know everything we're doing every step of the way.
All right, and you mentioned the cost. Do you have any new information on the timeline?
I was briefed today, actually, that closing should be on Monday. And I don't know what time yet, but I was told that, and we got the folks coming in to do the lines within the next 3 to 4 days. They're gonna have to order some stuff, so which will take about a week. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, you know, you hate to blame anything on COVID, but it's just everything has slowed down. If it was pre-COVID, I'd probably say another week and a half.
So as far, two target dates, as far as having all the employees in the building, do we have a target date for that? Have all the employees out of this facility?
Yes, we're trying to do it as soon as possible. I know they said the line should be in within the next 10 to 15 days, and then once they're in, we should be able to move people in there, because then we're gonna have internet and have the safety stuff up.
All right, and when are we gonna have a target date for the completion of the entire project?
As soon as we find out about the 25 feet versus 225, as soon as we have that, I will send an email this afternoon just before I came in here. I believe the sellers are on vacation right now, and they'll be gone a couple of days, but as soon as they get back, hopefully we'll know that, because we need that information to finalize what's gonna happen with the courthouse / council chambers.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion on this?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we provide a cap of $1.85 million to address all the changes and the procurements necessary for the relocation across to the new building.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion before we vote on it? Mr. Holder,
Yes.
Keating,
Yes,
Pellegrino,
Yes.
Drake,
Yes.
and myself is yes. Next thing on the agenda is a building inspector position. Mr. Shanahan,
Yes, sir, yes, excuse me,
did you have a question?
That was unbudgeted. Council's gonna need to do a budget amendment at a later date. That is a draft action.
well,
yeah, it is,
I thought we would still be coming to council to approve the individual expenditures. Is that not true?
yes,
That's right, but
Yeah.
Mayor, each individual expenditure is separately unbudgeted. So this was gonna do the job of preparing it so that y'all can address the budget amendment.
Let's just do a separate motion. Let's do a separate motion after this is done, because we've already done this one. Let's do the separate motion to authorize the expenditure of the unbudgeted.
My understanding of things on here is that she does that on a quarterly basis, so this is not going to be your budget amendment motion. That has to be
it will
published.
be done at a later date.
It'll be done at a later date. This was to secure that it's a cap, say that it is unbudgeted, and that it's coming from the general.
So do we need a motion or anything?
I was passing on the language that she
We
wanted.
need that,
Well, I had
Did they
a,
review the motion?
Before you please.
Yeah. I know what action that your finance director needed, and that was different language, so I would ask that council maybe consider a version of that motion. And use the language that was requested. That's just.
okay, well, let's do that, and I will reword that motion and do it. So I will move to authorize the expenditure of an unbudgeted amount not greater than 1.5 million in total from the general fund for expenses related to the acquisition of new town hall properties and related improvement, recognizing this will require a budget amendment ordinance at a later date. Does that meet that?
Yes.
And do I have a second on that? Second. Okay. Any discussion before we vote? Mr. Holder? Yes. Keating?
Yes,
Pellegrino?
Yes.
Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes. So we all squared now?
We are, and Ms. Mayor, I had mentioned reconsideration is redundant, and you don't need to be.
I understand, but I want to be more safe than sorry.
You're
Amen.
good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the next thing on the agenda, or number G on the agenda, we're moving into executive session. So we'll discuss that. What? Oh, the next thing, yeah, is the building inspector position.
Thank you, sir. Again, this is basically the same thing we spoke about at the last workshop. Based on the workload that we have in our building planning department and the amount of work that we've got going on, that we have requested that we create this position. This position in the past did exist and then it went away, and it's needed. And total cost of the position for salaries, for equipment, for computers and such would be right at $60,000. The reason we're bringing it up, I know we had it in the past with building liaison numbers, but it is unfunded, so that's why we need the permission to do it.
Go ahead.
As I spoke before, I do think there is a need for that position. We're short in the area, and that's an area that we need more coverage. But as I stated before, that means, in my opinion, we shouldn't increase the total headcount at town hall. We should eliminate one of the other empty positions and not fill it. So we need to be strong on that, because employees are getting more expensive. We're paying more, the benefits are more every year. And I don't think it's a good time to increase headcount right now. So I think we need to go full force for getting another person in planning and zoning, but we need to eliminate one of the other open spots.
Now, we still have openings in planning and zoning right now. We have an opening for a director, and what else do we have?
It would be the director in this position, and if it would be the other position was filled.
Mr. Mayor. So if I'm understanding correctly, we are proposing that the planning, building and zoning department now would consist of a director, a code enforcement official, a permitting clerk, and 2 building officials. Is that correct?
There would be one building official.
Well, we have one.
No, that's, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my email. So yes, you're right, I'm sorry.
So we are actually increasing headcount and anticipate maintaining 2 CBOs for the town of Surfside.
If I could get them both to be CBOs, that would be amazing, yes, ma'am. Of course, I'm still looking at what we're doing with the manager's position, director's position, so if we can bring that in.
But we're still right now paying a private contractor, we're paying the ex-chief
Yes,
to do the work for,
and some of that, well, the private contractor, we're using them on specific projects, and so right now, they're not doing this, correct?
Talking about our third party, or are we talking
The
about?
CSI,
Yeah, CCNI is our third party inspector, for instance, who helped us out with the Gracious Pig type substantial improvement, looking behind on that. But Chief Adi is our building official consultant, and he is on board right now to help alleviate some of the workload with plan review and inspections in the field while we get the new people up to speed. So if I may, I think what you're saying is that we will have a director of PB&Z. We'll have a certified building official. Maybe I should. So we'll have a director of PB&Z. We'll have a certified building official. Then we'll have a permitting clerk. We'll have a code enforcement officer, and we'll have a building inspector. That will total 5 staff members. The code enforcement is outrageous. It's big time.
that's one more than we've ever had, right? We've only ever had 4, the director, permits person, and 2 code enforcement.
In my time here, yes, sir. I understand that in the past, there was a GIS person that was in this department as well. That made it be 5 at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion?
I just have one more comment that I think there's bigger issues in this department. I mean, this is one of the most critical departments for our town. This is the one that has the most touch points to every business, every homeowner, every second homeowner, regardless. And this is also one of our biggest areas that if we do it wrong, we open the town up for some significant liability. So I would prefer to see, right now, we're just, again, we're doing this Band-Aid piecemeal approach to things. I would really prefer to see a real, I'll call it a charter for lack of a better word, but how do we really envision this group operating? Who is going to be responsible for what credentials do they have to have? Who reports to whom? What's their total scope of work? Because right now, we've got these third-party inspectors, we've got, our ex-fire chief doing some things. We've got Mitch out there doing other things. We've got Carol Coleman doing things. And yet we've got a whole bunch of things that are falling through the cracks that aren't being addressed. So I'm not opposed to adding a head count if it's the right head count, but I really want to see how is this operation going to function and how are we going to do better for the town? We've got a lot of things out there that, in my opinion, are really life-threatening, dangerous. And I showed you one today. There is no way that building should have been approved. So I really want to see this department designed and define how it's going to work before we throw any more money at it. We're already paying the COG, we're already paying CC&I, we're already paying Chief Ate on top of our employees, and we're not getting any better.
How long is that director position? Since you've been here, right?
Since I've been here, yes, sir.
I mean, it's been a long time.
January of 2020.
That's right.
The, I agree with Ms. Keating. We have an opportunity there, and I think we are understaffed, and we have issues because of it. But again, I'm not going to vote yes on any position that's considered a new position unless I know we're eliminating an existing position, because I don't think we need to increase headcount at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I would agree with Mr. Palmerino that we have to watch our head count right now in the list of everything we're spending. Just approved 1.85, and with a lot of spending going on, we got to make sure that we can afford it.
Okay, anybody else have any comment on this before we vote? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to defer this vote until we get the answers to some of the questions that Ms. Keating posed in my question on what we're going to do with the total headcount at town hall.
I can take a bit.
So this is basically deferring this until a later date, until we have a better idea of the.
I have most of that information already put together, so we'll get it to you pretty quickly.
Mr. Holden?
Well, yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Pellegrino?
Yes.
Drake? Yes. And I'm yes too. So that answers that one. And like I said, the G item, the pure change order, that's going into executive session. The next thing was public comments. And this is public comments about town services and businesses. Good evening.
Hey everyone, Cheryl DeFalco, 1015 North Dogwood Drive. April from my daughter. We all listening to our concerns as a local business, taking them into consideration, as well as Chief Hoffman, all your hard work that you did in putting the ordinance together, fixing it. And we have a vital business in town. We plan on being here many years. And we aim to do an exceptional job for the community, the police department. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are there any other public comments? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Tabitha Mall, 413 13th Avenue North, and also the chairwoman for Keep Surfside Beach Beautiful. I just wanted to invite everyone out for our beach sweep on 8/22. That is at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Pizza Hyena. So if you don't already know that, please do. We really need volunteers for the beach sweep. So any and everybody that you know, please just get that word out for us. And then a reminder of the Labor Day Golf Cart Parade, September 5th at 10 a.m. We're really excited about that. And then finally, if you haven't already, please join our Facebook page. It's Keep Surfside Beach Beautiful. And thank you for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Look like you want to. There we go.
Jamie Birchhead, 217 North Yukon. I was wondering on October 2nd, if we could have an appreciation day for the Surfside workers in our community because they do an awesome job. I've lived here for 7 years. They talk to everyone. They're always nice, always courteous. I know they get paid to do a job, but they do a great job. I was driving the other day on 17 right here, and I never see anybody slacking. They're just really wonderful people. And you can ask anybody in this room, I'm sure they know at least one person that works for Surfside. So maybe a recognition or something on that day when we have on October 2nd, just to thank them for the good job they do.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, since we may be going into executive session, we're going to do the town council comments. Now, so Mr. Oliver.
I'd like for everybody, thank everybody for coming out tonight and for the people that are on. And I just, the school starts next week. I thought to go into our citizens and our families here that's a due in town, that they can be safe and we'll have a good school year. It'd be nice. We are going back to public sessions and I think it's so important. So that's the first thing. I'm glad to hear about all the work that's all the pictures on the pier, and it looks great. We're moving forward. We're going to get ready to go out over the water, and I look forward to seeing that in the near future. I want to thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Key.
Yeah, well, thank everybody for coming out. It's nice to finally see the chairs slowly being filled back up again. Also, want to thank everybody that's listening in or watching live streaming, and certainly our media representatives that come and join us. We've had somewhat of a struggle, in my opinion, in getting all the appropriate communications out to all of our stakeholders. And that's not just residents and businesses, that's our visitors, our second homeowners that do not live close by. We don't have a lot of choices in communication mechanisms other than a lot of social media. So we've been trying to get as much information out there and get as open and transparent as possible. Many of you I know are friends of mine on Facebook, and I do try to put messages out to everyone so they know what's going on, what challenges we're facing, what successes we have, and frankly, what failures we have. We're not always 100% successful. Nobody is. So I just want to thank all of you that followed those messages and appreciate them being out there. Hopefully, if we are successful in finding our public information officer, a lot of that will go out much more officially, and that we will proceed getting our website developer back on track. We were kind of sidetracked with that a little bit, but hopefully that will come to fruition. We can improve our website such that it becomes much easier to use and much easier to navigate and actually gain useful information out of. It will be also user-friendly from an operational standpoint, such that we can keep the information updated without having to go back to our provider and paying, tens of thousands of dollars to have just the information changed and upgraded. So hopefully that will get it on track. We'll get the newsletter back on track, and we'll also get back to publicizing and having all of our town events to bring us all back together. So I just want to ask everyone to think about what you say about the town, think about how you feel about the town, think about how you communicate to others. You know, there is never a case in your life that you will ever agree 100% with everything that happens. My mission, and part of what I said when I was running for council, has been to make sure you have as much information available to you to at least understand why decisions are being made, why they're being made the way they are, why they're necessary to be made. It doesn't mean you're going to agree with them. Everybody has an opinion, everybody has a different perspective. That doesn't make anyone wrong, it doesn't make anyone lying, it just makes us different. So just accept where we are and try to work as a team to move us all forward. We are all in this together. We all stand to have a lot to lose if we continue the divide within this town. Thank you very much. See you in 2 weeks.
Mr. Pellegrino.
Thank you for coming tonight. It was great hearing the public comments tonight, the 3 comments, and they're all positive. That's good. It doesn't always happen like that. But thanks for coming. Thanks for being involved. I'm glad one of the residents mentioned our staff, because we do have a good staff here. From my perspective, I always have questions also on the material, and I call and talk to Mr. Shanahan, talk to the chief today, and they always take the time to give me the information I need so I can make a good decision. And I do appreciate that. So they're on top of the things, and they stick to the information, which is good. And as far as it's interesting that Ms. Keating's explaining some of the stuff we have to deal with, but that leads in, sign-ups it's time to sign up if you're going to run. So some of you guys need to run. Anyways, think about it. We'll talk to you later.
I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight on the phone and forth, coming out here tonight to see us. I appreciate y'all taking the effort to make time in your day to come find out what's going on in your town. And again, Ms. Hoffman, I called him this week. He's right on the spot, got me an answer, come back to me. John Adair is the same way. Public Works does do a fantastic job, and they're always busy doing something. But thank you very much, and I'll see y'all next week.
Well, I think the public comment about the appreciation for the employees, I think is probably long overdue that we do that. So, we're going to work with the town administrator. We're going to get something done. I don't know what day it will be. I don't know why October 2nd was picked.
The Surfside Festival.
The Surfside Festival. Okay. Absolutely. All right, well, we are going to work on that, and we're going to see what we can do. There's a lot of stuff going on where people are saying that, this is what we're doing and this isn't what we're doing. And I don't have a problem with everybody expresses their own opinion, but the one thing I do is if everybody has a question, why don't you call us and ask us? All you have to do is call us and ask us. People are saying you did this, you did that. Well, if you call me, I'll tell you we did this and we did that. And you can post it and it'll be what I said. But in the absence of good information, people make up their own. So I'm just saying that, I'm going to be open on giving that information. And if you want it, just call and ask. So I appreciate everybody coming tonight. And I'm glad that people are getting more involved. And remember that we've got a little less than a month to sign up for people running for council. So think about it. And you guys have a good evening. And we may go into executive session. If we do, you're welcome to stay. And we'll invite you in when we get done. So with that, I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we convene an executive session pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, Section 30-4-70A1, for discussion of employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, discipline, or release of an employee, and also in accordance with Section 30-470A2, to have a discussion of negotiations incident to a proposed contractual arrangement.
Do I have a second on that?
A second.
Okay. Mr. Holder?
Yes.
Keating?
Yes.
Pellegrino? Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes. So with that, we are going to go into executive session. And we will let you know when we get back.
This conference will now be recorded.
Go ahead.
Okay, it's now 8:45 and we're back from executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to reconvene the public session of the town council meeting for Tuesday, August 10th.
I have a second on that.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
We are now back in session.
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes,
have a motion.
go ahead.
I have a motion to authorize the town administrator to execute and engage in agreement with Jesse Kirschner to represent the town's interest in the city of Charleston and others versus Airbnb and others. And a number on that is 2021-CP 10-1650.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
I'm sure everybody's wondering what that's all about. So I'll explain that to you. We had talked, there's an organization or a company, some attorneys that are representing some municipalities near here, Charleston being one, North Myrtle Beach, that has to do with the recovery of business license money and also accommodation tax from the state in trying to recover some of the money. So it's a class action suit that they're doing, that the municipalities are jumping on to so that we can recover some of the money. There's a lot of Airbnb, there's a lot of VRBOs and stuff where they're not paying anybody. There's big management companies that are coming in, doing the leases, taking the money, and it's never coming back to Surfside Beach. So this lawsuit is basically guaranteeing or trying to stop that so that Surfside Beach will get the money that is coming to them from the accommodation tax and also the business licenses for the people that are participating in that. So we basically talked about the attorney who is solicited us for them to represent us. And we've agreed that it's a good deal to do, and that's why we have a motion. Is there any other discussion before we vote on it? Okay, Mr. Holder,
Yes.
Ms. Keating,
Yes.
Pellegrino? Yes. Drake?
Yes.
And myself is yes, so that passed. What else do we have?
That's it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Was it worth waiting on?